The European car industry is in real disarray at the moment.
It's difficult now because there's so many different cars around.
You can never repeat the past, you can only be inspired by it. There are certain skills and there are certain crafts that you can keep alive. You may be doing it with a slightly more modern implement, you may be doing it in a slightly more efficient way, but you are keeping the actual craft skill alive.
Despite troubled times with many European car manufacturers, the British ones are holding up quite well, increasing production year after year. But all the big British brands have been sold out to companies and owners abroad, to China, America, Germany and other countries. But what of the one that remains British run and British owned? A company that has seen the variations in the industry for over 100 years and has fought off every challenge tossed at them. This is the story about Morgan. In the wonderful hills of Malvern in Worcestershire, Morgan has been producing cars for over a century. But do they have any competitors?
Morgan definitely has competitors, and they may not be cars. It might be sailing, or expensive holidays. But the fact is that what we try and do is sort of offer a lifestyle. So, if you buy a Morgan, you tend to want to do the things that Morgan owners want to do. You tend to like the outdoors. You want to go driving in a car in beautiful parts of the world. So what we try and do, particularly through our web site and through the social network that's the Morgan community, is try and sort of give people the whole experience, if you like.
And the experience includes coming to the factory to see how the cars are built. Still using wooden frames, Morgan combines old skill with new technology.
There are certain skills and there are certain crafts that you can keep alive. You may be doing it with a slightly more modern implement, you may be doing it in a slightly more efficient way, but you are keeping the actual craft skill alive. Combination of the two really. The latest technology in terms of obviously a product that satisfies global emission standards, is economical, crash tests so that it saves the lives of people much, much more than it would have done if it had been an old Morgan 50 years ago, 20 years ago. But it's also something which is unique because it's very different to another car. I mean, take as an example our use of aluminium. Not a lot of car manufacturers use aluminium, and almost none of them use it in the way we do. So we adopt a technology from the aircraft industry, superforming, and make the whole body work with that technology.
This way of making cars lets Morgan employ people of different professions compared to other car makers. Carpenter Vince Wanklin got a job in the wood shop.
I'd lived in Malvern all my life, but I didn't know there was a wood shop at Morgan, so I didn't realise it was a wooden frame car. I never knew much about it. But so I just happened to come here when I was out of work. It was just by luck really. And I met Mr. Peter Morgan. He interviewed me and he asked me if I drove, and I said no. And he asked me if I played football, and I said no. And I think he gave up then, and he sent me down to see the foreman in the wood shop. And the foreman was just going to lunch, so he didn't have much time. So he just said, what do you want to do? Do you want to work in the mill or work on the bench? I said, work on the bench. He said, come in Monday, and that was basically it. It's all right. That was 38 years ago.
But all hasn't been well in the European car industry for the last few years.
The European car industry is in real disarray at the moment because factories are closing. There is far too much capacity for cars that aren't wanted. And that's really before China has come on stream making mass-produced cars. In fact, Morgan has a very strong spread of markets. So, for example, if a difficult situation arises in one particular country, we can probably shift the cars to a different country. We also tend to have cars that are pre-ordered by customers. So to an extent, any crisis doesn't hit us too soon because we've got lots of pre-orders in order to soften the blow. I mean, what's actually happening recently is that we're seeing a contraction in parts of Europe. Having said that, other bits of Europe are very strong. So the German market and the French market are very strong. The Spanish market and the Greek market are very weak. So as I say, we can spread the risk. But we've just produced a new car, the three-wheeler, which has got masses of advance orders, and we have recently gone into China, which we haven't done that before.
Car manufacturers in several European countries are still struggling with the after effects of the financial crisis, and even in the UK, some companies are still struggling. For the people at Morgan, however, things have gone a lot better.
But we were protected really on the shop floor from the crisis really. We knew it was quiet and we didn't have any overtime, or we didn't have the chassis flowing through like they should, you know, what we used to having. But most of the time they had the worry up the top really. And because it was we had such a good cushion with the waiting list, we didn't really used to notice.
So, what's Morgan's secret?
Well, Morgan, 103 years old, which is both an honour and a huge, I think, achievement, because there've been 2 world wars apart from anything else. But there's been endless cycles in the car industry. But we've achieved, I think, a sort of longevity through probably 2 reasons, really. One is that we've always had products that people want to buy, and actually all around the world. But also, we're very focused. We're very focused in what we do. Very small team, but we don't overstretch ourselves, and we get an awful lot done for a small amount of resource.
Incredibly, Morgan has managed to increase the sales and production every year throughout the recession.
In fact, we have increased production by a very large sum. Last year, I think we doubled our production. And of course, we've hired extra people to do that. So 20 people were taken on in 2012 to build the three-wheeler. The markets we're not in are the other very large population centres, so India, Brazil, South America. You can't do everything at once if you're a small company. So we're concentrating on China first, and making a success of that before we go into the other very large and very growing markets.
So, what does the future hold for Morgan?
I think the future's very bright for Morgan. I think we have cracking cars. I think all 3 models, the Aero Coupe, to a certain extent the Plus 8, which is a version of that, the classic Morgans, and the three-wheeler. They're all products that really are very exciting to own and still hold their value well. And I see going forward, to a certain extent, further improvements on those models and expansions into new markets with them.
And hopefully I'll retire in 3 years, 3.5 years, so hopefully it'll go a long time after me.
But no, we're working on some interesting projects as well, and we hope to reduce the weight of the car even further by using a novel material, magnesium alloy as opposed to aluminium. And of course we also have collaborations and partnerships with people like BMW. So you will see the latest technology coming into the Morgan range of cars.
It's difficult now because there's so many different cars around, and so it is difficult. So hopefully it lasts forever.